Hello everyone, my name is Kassidy Simpson. I'm actually a recruiter for Arkansas Tech University. I've been working in the admissions office for about 8 months now. So I started back in July, a couple months before Act 562 actually came into existence. So that is one reason why I decided to discuss this issue of enhanced concealed carry on college campuses. Just because when I first started my first student affairs professional job, this was a hot topic. So we'll go ahead and get started. So there's actually 19 of the primary sponsors of Act 562 are listed. The main sponsor, his name is actually Charlie Collins. Something interesting that I found out about Mr. Collins is he has really been passionate about this since about 2011, probably before that as well. But that just kind of shows me a little bit about his heart and how important this bill and this act was to him to keep pushing all these years to try to get this enhanced concealed carry into a law. So a couple of the other people who helped make his dream a reality are Trent Garner, Trevor Drown, he's actually native to Dover, a couple miles away from Arkansas Tech, Bob Bellinger, Jonathan Dismang, Mary Bentley, Andy Davis, Justin Gonzalez, Mark Lowry, Robin Lundstrom, John Maddox, Aaron Pilkington, Johnny Rye, Brant Smith, Dan Sullivan, Deanne Bott, Jeff Wardlaw, Danny Watson, and Richard Womack. So these 19 individuals are actually all Republican. They're all a part of the Republican parties. They're either members of the House of Representatives or there's a couple senators in there as well. But these individuals have been working with the state for quite a while. Between all of these individuals, mostly all of them have their degree, their bachelor's degree. A few others also have their master's, and then we also have a couple veterans in there as well. So I think that just really shows a diverse group. So they're able to bring a lot to the table just with their diverse background. I think that that's very important, especially when you're dealing with the safety of all of Arkansas, honestly, because this law doesn't only impact universities, it also impacts other groups in the state of Arkansas as well. So before I kind of dive into Act 562, I'm going to talk about the original training requirements just to receive the concealed carry permit, just because I want you to see how many requirements you actually have to meet in order to obtain your permit to conceal a weapon or have a concealed carry permit. So the first one, obviously, you have to be a citizen of the United States or a permanent legal resident. You also must be a citizen of Arkansas for 90 days prior to applying for the permit. You must be at least 21 years old or 18 years old and be a part of the military. We don't want you to suffer from any mental or physical infirmities that would prevent you from actually handling your firearm safely. We really want people to be safe if they have this concealed carry permit. We also don't want any felons. We want you to be subject to unlawful use of your firearm. We don't want you to abuse any controlled substances. That does include alcohol, so we don't want you to be chronically using alcohol. We also want you to obtain this permit to protect yourself. We don't want you to get this permit just so you can kind of be mischievous with it. We also want you to be mentally competent. We don't want any incompetent individuals. You must not have been taken to a mental facility, whether that's voluntarily or involuntarily. We also don't want any fugitives or individuals with warrants. And then obviously you need to satisfy all the proper training that is required to obtain that permit. And last but not least, we want you to sign an allegiance with the United States of America because we don't want to be arming individuals who don't support the United States and the Constitution of Arkansas. So those are just some of the training requirements. I added that in there just to let everyone kind of see what the requirements are to actually um, obtain a permit to carry a firearm. So Act 562, like I was saying, Charlie Collins has actually been working on this for quite a while, but he passed this and it came into effect in September 1st of 2017. So it's been in effect for a little while. This is the original Enhanced Concealed Carry Act that everyone has kind of been talking about on college campuses. So this original Act 562 allowed anyone who completed those trainings to carry on university campuses, churches, hospitals, police stations, all of those different places, those safe places that the previous concealed carry permits would prohibit you from carrying those weapons. So some of the requirements to actually obtain the enhanced concealed carry permit, obviously you have to meet all the original concealed carry requirements. There's also a field exam. So whenever I was reading into this, you actually have to have a 70% accuracy rate. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not that big of a deal. But whenever you look into it, you are timed, and they do this to kind of show you if you are put into a potentially dangerous situation with this enhanced concealed carry, will you be able to perform to par with the added stresses of those dangerous situations. So you do have to have 70% accuracy in those field exams. And then there's also a 5-hour course that you have to take. This obviously will tell you about the safety precautions that you'll need to take whenever you have your concealed carry weapon with you. You'll also go through an active training an active shooter training, which I think is very, very important, especially if you're going to be carrying on a campus or in one of those safe spaces that could potentially become dangerous with active shooters. Something interesting though, a couple months later, once the Act 562 was passed, some of the sponsors realized, okay, some of the language that we used was a little bit confusing. We didn't really think a couple of the little details through before we passed this act. So they did create Act 859, so it did change some of the details a little bit. So this act actually prohibits firearms in college sporting events, disciplinary hearings, courtrooms, K-12 public schools. So a couple of those really important places where I feel like maybe emotions could get involved. Obviously, college sporting events, you could have alcohol, angry fans from losing, all of those types of things, and firearms, and all of those different variables would not mix well. Also, disciplinary hearings on campuses. This is a huge thing because we don't need students or anyone having firearms whenever they're going to their disciplinary hearings. With these different changes, however, it is causing a little bit of stress with staff members who actually work on university campuses, like this disciplinary hearing. So I was reading about it, and you actually have to post signs of when the disciplinary hearings will be. You'll also have to send out emails, just making sure everyone who will be in the vicinity of that building, in the vicinity of that disciplinary hearing, does not have a firearm on their person, just to make sure everyone stays safe. So a couple of the societal impacts that that kind of popped up when I was reading about this act. The previous concealed carry instructors, so anyone who is able to give those permits out and actually train those individuals who want just the original concealed carry permit, they are now required to get trained to offer this service of the enhanced concealed carry. Um, whenever they actually brought about the Act 562, they told all the instructors that they had about 6 months to be personally trained so they could start training other individuals. Um, so that is the first kind of big thing that I saw. I personally don't really agree with that. Some people might not, some of those instructors might not agree with the act, so I don't feel like it would be I don't think it would be right to force them to obtain that extra training if they don't want to teach those courses. I also thought that it could create a stressful situation on college campuses just because I understand that sometimes we have young students, we have students who shouldn't have weapons on campus, and so that could potentially cause stressful situations having those extra firearms on campus if those students aren't as trained as they should be. So my personal opinions with this act, I normally try to see both sides of everything. So on one side of the coin, I really do support this act. As an Arkansan, as someone who supports the Constitution, I do support Arkansan Second Amendment rights to bear arms. So I do support that. I also do agree with not having firearms at sporting events and also disciplinary hearings and all of those types of events. I think it would really help keep people safe. Also, I do agree and support the training required for the enhanced concealed carry. I love the fact that there are those different classes or all are those different courses that you have to take in order to understand the importance of active shooter training and all of those variables. However, I do not support having firearms in residence halls. One interesting thing that I learned at one of our enhanced training courses at Arkansas Tech is whenever you have a student who has that enhanced concealed carry in a residence hall, the definition of concealed carry is concealing the weapon on your person. So when you are in a residence hall, you would be required to have that weapon on you at all times, have that firearm on you at all times. And I just don't think that that would be possible. I don't think that would be feasible to make a student carry their weapon on them at all times with that enhanced carry. I also don't support some of the bill's language that was used. So when I was kind of looking into this, I did realize that there was a lot of changes early on, which I completely understand just because there's some things that they don't think about. But I feel like the lawmakers really needed to think some of the details over before they just kind of put the Act 562 out there in September. So a couple of my own personal experiences. Since I've been working for Arkansas Tech since July, I have had to go to a couple enhanced concealed carry trainings, and I've heard a lot of hesitations and stresses from faculty and staff members. I understand where they're coming from because it would be very stressful to be teaching with students who could potentially have a firearm in their classroom. That would be a very stressful situation. I also have gone to a couple other trainings. So I've gone to an active shooter training, which I think is very beneficial. They have those available for the faculty, staff, and students. And I would really encourage anyone who has not participated in one of those to definitely consider it. So my final thoughts, although some of the language was a little bit confusing in the beginning with Act 562, I do fully believe that Charlie Collins had his heart and soul in this act. He's been working on this for quite some time, and I really do believe that he thinks that Arkansans will be safer because of this. So with that, I do support this. I hope that they'll be able to get all the kinks worked out and all the little details worked out, but I do fully support the enhanced concealed carry on college campuses.